Good afternoon, everybody.
Sorry.
Thank you for attending this afternoon's seminar. You'll notice that I got Yaz to do the technical stuff and passed with flying colours, so thank you for that. So what I thought I would do is to take you through a little bit of the process, celebrate some of the success, and also give you some of what we refer to as the top tips with regards to entering the awards. Essentially, what we'll try and do, we won't be able to win you an Oscar, but at least we might be able to try and get you nominated and into the final ceremonies in June. So good luck with your entries. I think it's worth going through the judging process so that people are familiar with how the judging process works, and the fact that throughout the whole of that process, it's very rigorous, it's multifaceted, there's different people involved at different stages. So as Yaz has clearly said there, that the application process is open now. It has been open since mid-January. We already have people who are working on their applications, and that's absolutely fantastic. And we hope as a result of this afternoon that you'll be able to focus your minds and give yourself plenty of time, because essentially that's nearly a month away, but we all know we're in the middle of February already, and that month will go very, very quickly. So deadlines will close on the 17th of March at 4 o'clock. That is a hard deadline. And the reason for that is a whole series of activities then take place, which lead us up to June. So a Chamber of Commerce panel made up of directors and senior figures within the Chamber review all the applications, and we allocate a first score. Now, the finalists are the top in each category. The finalists then represent the top scoring applications in each category. Typically speaking, you will find that in a category where there might be 25 entries, for example, you will find that there'll be 5, maybe 6 finalists. So that gives you an idea of the proportion of entries to the proportion of people going through to the second stage. The second stage, which takes place around about the beginning of April and around the Easter period, is where we have our judging days. And so each category has a different judging day. There are 2 judges for this stage. There is an external judge, and that will be somebody who is from that sector, often is actually from the sponsors organisation. And then it's a different member of the chamber staff. So what you'll find is that there are separate people who in step 1 who will be doing the initial scoring, and then there'll be a different person in stage 2. So you can see there how people will be looking at your entries differently, and also there'll be different people there. The telephone interview takes place. It's via Zoom, 45 minutes, and time to ask some questions. And at that stage, the judges will then allocate a second score. I think it's really important to mention here that those 2 scores are added together. So it's not always the case that somebody who absolutely smashes the interview might actually be the person who wins that award, because those two scores are added together. So please bear that in mind also. So then we will be given, we'll know our nominations, and then we'll know our winners. And all the finalists will be invited to attend the awards event in June, on June the 12th. The finalists and the winners are announced on each category on the night. So your business as a nomination will get their name in lights on the evening, presented by the host and emblazoned across the different screens in the room. There are different categories, but then there is also a winner of winners category, and that's chosen by another judging panel from the different winners of those categories. And then all the winners are invited to an additional celebration event, which takes place in July, where the winners and the sponsors all get together to complete the celebration. So you can see it's almost a 6-month process where we get ourselves through the entries, into the judging, a big celebration in June, and then another opportunity to enjoy the celebration and the awareness for your company when we meet up again in July. Let me take you through the categories. So the categories that we actually have, and you can see that they're all listed there, but I think it's quite important that you see what they are and perhaps who's actually sponsoring them as well. So sponsored by the EBC group this year, we have Best Use of Technology and Trends. The charity business of the year is sponsored by Milford Research and Consultancy Limited. Malvern Analytical are sponsoring Commitment to the Community. Employer of the Year is being sponsored by Heart of Worcestershire College. You notice there that Wyvale Nurseries are sponsoring Excellence in Customer Service, while the Innovation Excellence Award is being sponsored by Malvern Hills Science Park. Excellence in Manufacturing Engineer is being sponsored by ABE Ledbury. And then you'll notice that we do have one sponsorship which is still available. That's Excellence in Professional Services. So we'll be keeping people updated on that. The Vinegar Works are very kindly sponsoring Excellence in Sustainability, while Kingspan Insulation are sponsoring the Health and Wellbeing in the Workplace Award. High Growth Business is sponsored by MFG, with Bishop Fleming sponsored International Trade this year. The Growth Hub in Worcestershire are sponsoring Micro Business, and the Most Promising Business is being sponsored by Haywood Wright. And by last but by no means least, Small Business of the Year is being sponsored by Britannic Place Financial Management. If any of those businesses have joined us this afternoon, it's my opportunity to thank them so much for their support. And I'm sure you all recognise some of those companies across both counties who are really helping us with the awards. Here's our Hall of Fame. Here's the Hall of Fame that companies that won last year. And you'll notice they are extremely varied business sectors. They are large and they are small companies, and they are across both counties. You saw them in the video earlier, but Hotel Shop picked up an award, as did Dorley's and Britannic Dynamic Logistics. Kemp's, Limelight, DRPG, they all picked up awards, along with Altpro, the NHS Acute Hospitals Trust, Indra, Malvern Analytical, and Veg Life. And of course, Hewett Recruitment, and you're going to hear from Ben a little bit later on. But why enter the awards? And it's so important as we try and recruit teams, as we try and retain teams, that recognition is such a huge part of our businesses. Whether we're a small business, whether we are a large business, irrespective of our business sectors, there's so many benefits for actually entering the awards themselves. Improving staff morale is certainly top of the list. To be able to show your employees how much you value their hard work and accomplishments. And also, it's actually the buzz of winning an award, and that can be a really big motivator. I'm a firm believer, as a serial nominee and never actually won a Chamber Award in my commercial experience, that the nominations are just as important, and you should celebrate those. I refer to this again. There are people that have had careers based on nominations for these and never actually won one. So being involved is so important. It gains exposure for your business, and we all benefit from exposure to our business. It can be a really valuable and powerful tool to raise your profile and make an impression across the business community. It could well be that if you're tendering for business, that you have an opportunity on that tender to maybe list some of the awards that you've been nominated for or have managed to win. And that will certainly help with that particular point. I mentioned earlier, attracting and retaining talent. Winning an award can really enhance employee retention because you've recognized their effort. But equally, if you're trying to attract talent to your business, they may well be looking at some of your achievements in the past. And an award or a variety of awards is often going to be a really strong pull. To be able to grow your network, the Chamber Business Awards is a fantastic place to actually build relationships. There aren't many opportunities where you get 700 people, in fact, over 700 people in one room celebrating the business of both categories, of both counties. So it gives you a real opportunity to perhaps build for the year ahead. And of course, to be able to stand out from the crowd. Competitiveness is a key part of any business or any organization. And to be able to win a Chamber Award really helps your company stand out from the rest, stand out from the crowd, and give your business the opportunity to put itself up there on a pedestal for people to be attracted to it. So let's go through some top tips. The first tip is choosing the right category. You can enter up to 3 different categories. But what I would stress to ask yourself which you are proud of and have exceeded and excelled and want to be recognised for. Do you have a whole series of outcomes and a whole series of examples that would set you above the rest in a particular category. Whether you're a micro business, a small business, or entering some of the larger categories, could you have that competitive edge on other people within your sector and within that category? But one of the things I will point out there, it says there in bold, and it's in bold for a reason. Read the questions and make sure you answer those questions in relation to the category that you've chosen. Top tip number 2 is to keep to the format and keep the flow the same. Keep the language and information simple. Make bullet points perhaps a really easy way to read things. So when shortlisting, the judges might be looking at somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 entries in any one category. So you can imagine from a judge's point of view, if it's easy for the judge to read, if it's easy for the judge to understand what you do, then it's going to be a lot easier perhaps to gain big points. Follow the question format, make it an easy read. Imagine the judges making notes and give them something to write about. Now, as a judge myself, it is actually really good fun judging these awards. It is incredible what you learn about the fantastic businesses that we've got. But please, please write in simple terms. Don't assume the person judging your business knows what your business actually is. We are all business people, but we're not all experts in the field, and certainly experts such as you are in your particular field. So explain your business, and that way it'll make it a lot easier for the judges to give you top marks. Examples and evidence. It is so key to make sure that you have examples and evidence to back up your entry. That will also help you when you get into if you get into the second stage of the interview, because when people are having a conversation about your business, they just want to hear how that has actually worked and how it is working in your organization. There is an interesting point there that all the questions do have that maximum word count. So include as much measurable evidence as you possibly can. Imagine yourself if there are just 2 spots left in the nominations. There might be 3 or 4 companies, there's just a couple of spots left. What could you put in your entry that would absolutely make that judge think, yep, they're the one that deserves to go through to the next stage? So tell the judges with evidence and example of what's going on. On to top tip number 5. So often with awards, you are talking about the past. You're talking about stuff that you've achieved, things that you've achieved, and things that your team have achieved. But equally, it's often really, really important to find out what the future has in store and how perhaps some of your success and some of your hard work is going to benefit your organization and benefit the wider business community moving forwards. So entries can sometimes dwell on the past a bit too much, but you must let us know what you might have in store for us and what that particular achievement may have in store. And it's always really good to actually think yourself and perhaps detail on your entry what might happen if you were to win this award. Imagine yourself being interviewed by the TV and press afterwards saying, and this award is going to allow us to, and then what would you actually say at that particular point? Teamwork is really, really important with regards to these particular awards. Work as a team. Ask a few people in your business to read the application. And the reason I say this is that often I've written various pieces of work, various proposals for a piece of business, perhaps, not necessarily an award, but a proposal. And then I say to a colleague, just have a quick look at this. And they go, what about when? Or why don't you put this in? And I think that's where having a team effort and getting more people involved will really help. It will also help if you get through to the second stage of the interview, that you can have a number of people at that interview with you and you're not putting all the pressure on yourself. If, of course, you are a business that maybe only has 1 or 2 employees, or you're a sole proprietor, then maybe get somebody from outside the business to have a look at that and to see if they can add, maybe get one of your clients to look at it. And that's where I come on to that tip there. Get someone from outside of your business to review it if possible. And that is because it could well be that a client or perhaps one of the partner organizations you work with actually value your business and value your organization for a reason that you never even knew. and that could actually help you with your awards application there. But please be accurate. Please make sure that you're putting facts down there that actually do check out, because we do look and we do, if there's something which we think to ourselves, is that absolutely possible that that has happened? We will start digging into it. And that is definitely what happens at the second stage where the interviews are taking place, because you've got a different person looking at the application. You've also got somebody from the external market looking at the application, and they will definitely ask you those questions. On to the top tip number 8. There are 9, by the way, just in case you're wondering that this could be going on till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Please, please, please don't leave any blanks, particularly if you, and so don't leave any blanks. Please don't copy and paste. I say that because you're probably wondering, what do you mean copy and paste? Why would I possibly do that? We've had examples in the past where somebody's actually maybe done 3 different entries, and they've literally, on certain questions, they've literally just taken one over to the other. Now, when you're on about number 15 or 16 of different nominations and you're doing the shortlisting, it's really frustrating when you identify that somebody's copied and pasted. So please don't do that. Please use every bit of that application form. This is your opportunity to get your voice across and to get your case across. Now, don't use AI. Isn't this just the hot topic at the moment with regards to that? I know it's tempting to use AI, but you could end up that your application begins to look very similar to somebody else in the category. Why is that, I ask you? Well, let me give you a live example of something that happened literally this week. 2 weeks ago, I needed to write a piece of information. I needed some help to start me off on that process. So I went into ChatGPT and I put in my criteria. I said what I wanted to talk about, said how many words I wanted it to be, pressed enter. And as you all know, 5 seconds later, there was that piece of work. It gave me a little bit of a steer to how I wanted to carry on with that piece of information. Well, 2 weeks later, I asked somebody to actually do a fairly similar exercise. And then they kindly sent me their entry or their submission for whatever I needed it for. And lo and behold, the first sentence of my document and that person's document were identical. So there is a suspicion that we both put our details into ChatGPT, and lo and behold, we came up with exactly the same opening sentiments. So please be careful. If you are going to be using AI, please be careful to make sure your work is looking original. Top tip 9, this is one where I should practice what I preach, because this is to please plan and leave plenty of time for meeting the final deadline. There's nothing worse if at midday on the 17th of March, you are suddenly struggling to get that entry in, or suddenly your Wi-Fi goes down and you can't get that entry across. Please give yourself some time. Don't leave it too late. If you do leave it late, you may not get time to involve others. Earlier on in the chat here, I mentioned use your colleagues or use your clients or use your partners. Please make sure you give yourself time to do. You can start the application. In fact, some of you probably already have. You can start the application now. It can sit there. It sits on the portal, and then you can just go dipping in and out of it. So you could start doing it tomorrow, and then you could sleep on it over the weekend. You come back in on Monday and Tuesday, and you've literally thought, I didn't even mention that. And you go back in and you can start playing around with it. So please do that. So they're the 9 top tips. I hope it helps. Obviously, these slides are going to be sent out to you after the, and obviously the video will be going online. So please do have a look at that. It's a really, really rewarding exercise to get involved in these awards. As I said in one of my earlier slides, we as a Chamber of Commerce, we get to learn so much about the fantastic businesses. And then it all culminates with that celebration that we have on June the 12th at the University of Worcester Arena. So good luck with your applications. And I hope in some small way that's helped you just focus your mind on where you might go and what you might like to apply for. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Ben Mannion, probably a figure in the business community here in Worcestershire and across Herefordshire, is very well known to many. But Ben, you've enjoyed some considerable success over the years
Yeah.
in these awards. And I think it would be really fascinating just to get your insight into how you've gone about it, what it's meant to your business, and how much you've enjoyed the after party as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me okay, first and foremost? Yep, great. I'll try not to duplicate a lot of what Robert said, but maybe look at it very much from our angle in terms of how those top tips apply to us and our kind of awards journey, so to speak. Bit of background as to perhaps why I've been asked to talk. In 2023, we applied for 3 awards: Commitment to the Community, Excellence in Customer Service, and Employer of the Year. And we won the first 2 and were highly commended in that third one. And then last year we applied for another 3: the Excellence in Customer Service again, the Excellence in Professional Services, and Commitment to the Community again. And again, we won the first 2 and were highly commended in the Commitment to the Community. So we've had a nice run of success over the last couple of years. In terms of the other thing I should mention as well is that through my position on the board of directors of the Chamber for a number of years, prior to that, I was a judge as well, and I have been a judge on a number of occasions. So I do kind of have an angle from that perspective in terms of some advice. I think in terms of why we entered, we were perhaps as a lot of businesses are across the 2 counties, we're a small business, been going for a few years. We kind of thought we were good at what we did, and we talked for a while about looking to do some awards and dipped our toes in some things. But having been a regular attendee of the Chamber Awards and seeing how much of a good night it is, let's say that first, but also the kind of accolades that come for the people who've won them, it felt like a natural thing for us to have a go for. Because we're a very local business, we only serve the 3 counties: Herefordshire, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire. So for us, we wanted to be recognised locally. And again, I think that might resonate hopefully with a few of the smaller businesses. We also, off the back of some interesting times post-COVID, we wanted to have something to celebrate. Quite frankly, we wanted to give the business something to celebrate. We wanted to give the team something to celebrate. And what I would say is that the kind of engagement we had from the team in terms of putting the awards applications in, and also just on the night and the kind of post-awards euphoria was really kind of tangible, and something that still is talked about today. If you go into our offices, there's big pictures on the walls of us with our awards on the night from both years. We've got one of the awards, well, 2 awards each from each year in each of the offices, although I did accidentally break one the other week, so I need to find out who makes them so I can get a replacement. I wouldn't underestimate that kind of feel-good factor that it really gives you, and that kind of sustains actually moving forward. And when we said we were going to enter again in the second year, everyone just got really excited again, and they got really, really kind of really engaged in what we were looking to do. In terms of, I'm really keen for people to kind of throw questions at me, because I appreciate there might be specific questions, but just to kind of touch on a few things perhaps that Robert talked about in those top tips, and maybe come at them from our angle. That piece around spreading the load, so to speak, if you can. And I appreciate that can be difficult if you're a very small business, but trying to get different people involved, I would absolutely advocate, whether it be from within your organisation, or if you've got a trusted partner, advisor, non-exec, or anything like that you can lean on to give you a bit of additional advice and support. I would certainly do that. But within that, so how we did it, I should say, is that we looked at the awards we wanted to enter, and we kind of looked internally at who might be the best person to answer those questions. So that first year, when we did Commitment to the Community, Customer Service, and Employer of the Year, I do quite a lot around the kind of skills agenda and within the community. So it made sense for me to tackle that first and foremost. My business partner, Laura, had been the person who'd got us set up on Trustpilot and done a lot of our marketing around our customer service. So it made sense for her to do that. And then we got our marketing person to do the Employer of the Year application. And then the 3 of us sat down and went through each one and got each other's thoughts on it. So yes, one person have a bit of responsibility for it, but we were making sure that we were bouncing ideas off each other as well. One thing I would add to that, and Robert, don't slap me on the wrist for this, definitely don't cut and paste, but equally do read all the questions from the awards you want to reply to first before you start answering, because there are some that are quite similar potentially. So what I would say is don't copy and paste, but also don't duplicate effort. Have a look at the questions. It might be that you can reuse some of the evidence or some of the words that you've used in different applications. And that would be my next point, which would be evidence. When we started, the customer service one is a really interesting one. And this possibly came from the fact that I judged awards before as well. It's very easy for you to kind of wax lyrical, but it's evidence that actually puts you over the edge. It's evidence that makes your application really stand out in terms of evidencing what it is that you've said you can do, that you have actually done. And linked to that is the piece around the word count. So Robert's right, there is a very strict word count. You literally cannot go over it. You get very good at removing unnecessary prepositions and whatnot from your entries. However, you do have the opportunity to add, I think it's up to 5 PDF documents or something like that. They're nodding on the chamber screen. So you can pack that with evidence. Absolutely pack it with evidence, and then use the text to just pull out the highlights of that evidence. And you can rest assured the judges do look at all of the supporting stuff that you put with it, and that can really help bring your application to life and back up everything that you've said about yourself. On that note, I would say once you've got your application in and hopefully you've scored well and your evidence has done your job well, is do not underestimate the importance of the telephone interview. Don't think that because you've got to that point that it's kind of plain sailing. Speaking as a previous judge, I've had a couple of applications that I've reviewed before that really looked incredible on paper. And then when it's come to the point of doing the interview and discussing the application in more detail, the company has kind of let themselves down because they really didn't. Either it was clear that they didn't really write it, if I'm honest, or they didn't really almost believe in what they were saying, which nicely links me through to my final point, which is really important, is make sure that you get the leadership in your business involved in this. You can really tell on the applications. Again, I'm speaking more from a judge's perspective here, but we definitely took this into our applications. You can really tell the ones that come from the people who are or have had involvement from the people who kind of are what makes that business tick and are the kind of ethos of that business. And perhaps that kind of comes through in some of those interviews at times when it may be the business leader that's been put then on the interview, but it's very clear that they haven't had anything to do with the application, and the two things just don't really chime. So yeah, I would definitely make sure that you get some kind of leadership involvement to ensure that it really is kind of telling the story of the business and really kind of represents the true kind of essence, shall we say, of the organisation. And the final bit is don't be put off in applying. When Robert kind of showed that screen earlier with all those different winners on there, there's some big names on there actually. Malvern Panalytical and Hotel Shop and the NHS and stuff. And I think maybe we'd have applied earlier had we not maybe thought, oh, are we gonna, there's some big names there, are we really gonna? But in the end we just actually thought, no, do you know what, we believe in what we do, we're just going to put ourselves out there. So if you think you've got something about your business that sets you apart, then this is a perfect opportunity for you to distill that. And what I will say is, even if you don't win, actually filling in the forms and being made to think about how you answer those questions and made to think about what it is that sets you apart is a really useful exercise. And even if we hadn't have won any of those ones, and we're very, very proud and pleased that we did, it did make us think, you know what, we're pretty bloody good at what we do. And it was quite a nice feeling anyway, to have had that kind of go through that exercise. And the fact that you have to evidence it makes you kind of pull together all these great things about your business. And that in itself is a really nice process. Yeah, and I think in terms of me kind of giving my take on things, that's probably it. I'd be more keen to answer any specific questions that people might have about our experience, or indeed anything else I can kind of, give any pointers on, basically.
Great stuff. Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate that. And you've certainly confirmed some of my comments, but also added to those, and that is really, really helpful. We greatly appreciate that. So thank you for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a little bit of time left. If there are any questions, then this would be a really good time. Have we got anything in the chat? No questions. So, any questions, folks?
Oh, there is a question.
Oh, there is. So we are currently looking at the excellence in innovation. Part of our innovation is based in Albury, West Midlands. We'll mention that in our award. No, because if you're a business in where's Emma? Emma, thank you for that. If your business is based in Herefordshire and Worcestershire, the fact that some of your work is taking place just across the border would not be an issue. It would just show that as a business, you are taking some of that expertise across the border, but you're bringing some of the value back. So we would certainly understand that. There are a number of businesses across, particularly Worcestershire, that have dealings with a lot of other organisations just across the border in certain other areas. So no, please continue with your entry. Okay, so we've done the chat box. We're just looking to see if any hands are coming up at all, or anybody's coming off mute. No, I'm going to give a 3. Oh,
not a question, just an appreciation for the.
That's one for you, Ben. Fantastic. I'm not taking any credit for that. Thank you, Annette. That's definitely one for Ben. That's very kind of you. Okay, folks. So it doesn't look like we've got any questions, but that doesn't mean that if you do have any, feel free to drop the chamber an email just with any sort of advice.
Rob, I was going to say, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, they can either find me on LinkedIn, or if someone approaches you and you want to pass on my contact details, then feel free to do that. I'm more than happy to have a chat with people.
That's very kind of you, Ben. Thank you for that. Good stuff. Thank you. So folks, I'm going to give you 14 minutes to go and look at the website and choose which category you might want to get involved in. But thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us this afternoon. I hope you found it useful. Yasmin, thank you for putting together today's event. And good luck, everybody. And who needs to win one of these anyway? It's the Chamber Awards you want to win. So go for it and good luck. See you soon.
Yeah.